All right, what is going on? Happy Tuesday, Sztanyo Clanyo. Thanks for jumping into the live chat. We're live. We've had a good week. I hope you've had a good week. It's a bright, sunny day here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Had a meeting earlier on a board that I sit on a local charity, and now we get to talk real estate with you. So, welcome aboard. If you've got questions, please put them in the chat. Would love to hear from you. We're going to be talking about today new construction. Should you buy new construction in 2021? Should you wait till 2022? Should you wait till 2023? Should you never buy new construction? We're going to look at what some of the experts are saying on kind of a macro level of the housing market. Everyone knows the housing market has been crazy over the last couple years, and this year in particular. And so because we're all kind of programmed, if you were alive back then, back to 2007, 2008, 9, 10, and there was the ramp up of the housing market, and then everything crashed and the bottom fell out and prices just plummeted, and so many people were in over their heads. So many people had bad mortgages. So many people lost their homes through foreclosure. That's kind of what everyone is feeling right now. Like, that's going to happen again, right? Like, it can't sustain this, right? Yes and no. Like, it's a very different animal now than it was in 2008. And we're going to look at some of those, the big economic reasons why that is. And I know a lot of you on this channel subscribe because you're looking at potentially moving to Cincinnati, and maybe you found us through our cost of living through Cincinnati video, or through the pros and cons of living in Cincinnati video, and you're kind of like thinking of moving here, or maybe you are moving here, and so you want to know, well, what does that look like? Should I buy a resale home, or should I buy new construction? What are the markets? What is the current status of the market? So we talk about that a lot here. And I want to keep focusing in on this because I think as I keep getting feedback from you, as I keep getting calls from people who are watching the channel, you're saying it's helpful. You're saying it's helpful not only to get a feel for the market, but to get a feel for the area and the different neighborhoods and kind of the school districts and all of that. I have another client coming in this Saturday, moving in from Texas, and super excited to help them go. They're negotiating on their home today in Texas, and then we get to go look at some houses here in Cincinnati. We went under contract with two clients this week who are buying new construction here in the Cincinnati area, one with Fisher Homes, another one with Miranda Homes. So super excited about that. Was grateful to be a part of that process. And I'm glad that you guys are finding this content useful, and if that means that I can help you buy or sell a house here in the Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky area, super grateful to do that. Here at Team Sztanyo, we believe that home is where your family grows strong together. And so our job is to help you find a home and strengthen your family, find that right home for your family. So that's what we're trying to do. And today we're going to look at a couple of articles from Forbes going through kind of the current market, where we're at, and again, some of that bigger picture so you can understand. And I've done a lot of new construction on this channel, and before this year and maybe the end of last year, I didn't sell a lot of new construction. But the reason why I've kind of been focusing on this content is I just think it makes a lot of sense given the current climate that we're in. And so, what do I mean by that? Well, if prices have been going up, which they have been, and a lot of people know that in the industry, when you're shopping for a home right now, it's really difficult because oftentimes the houses are going within a few hours, or maybe the agents are keeping the offers open for a day or two, and so you're competing against multiple offers and multiple other buyers, and it can be it can be really stressful. It can be you fall in love with a home, you put an offer in it, and then a day or so later, even though you went over asking price, you didn't win the bid and the offer, so you're not under contract, and then you got to kind of do it all over again. And it's kind of like one of the reasons I've done these new construction videos. It's like, well, if you can if you're paying a lot for a house, yes, new construction costs are high, but if you can get the home exactly how you want it in terms of the bedrooms, the layout, the amenities, and everything's new, maybe you're paying a little bit more for that, but you're also avoiding that entire jungle of a buyer's market that it is right now, where you're like having to fight everyone else and waive inspections and go over ask price, and it's a challenge. And so one way to avoid that challenge is potentially to buy new construction. Now there's pros and cons to buying new construction, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. And again, please feel free to jump in the chat. Would love to talk to you guys and say hello or ask any other questions you have about real estate, whether it's buying or selling a house. Any questions you have about Northern Kentucky or Cincinnati, just living here in the area as a resident of 30 plus years here. Would love to answer any questions you have about the area. But let's jump into these articles and kind of go through them and talk about what does it look like? What does the new construction market look like right now? So, all right, let me pop over here. So, two articles here on from Forbes. This one is titled "Top Challenges and Opportunities for New Construction in 2021." So there are certainly both challenges and opportunities. This was written just a few weeks ago, July 13, through Forbes. So Joshua Cooley, who he's an owner-operator of a successful real estate business in Eugene, Oregon, and head coach at Rieger Coaching and Consulting. All right, so let's see what Joshua has to say here. Okay, so he says, starting off, the real estate industry is in the midst of dealing with major changes and challenges that affects all players involved. In July 2019, our agency in Eugene, Oregon sold the first home in a new build subdivision for $475,000. In June 2021, the 60th home we sold in the same subdivision closed for $595,000. Okay, so so 120 grand more in less than 2 years, about 2 years. Buyers who finalized contracts 8 months ago don't even have completed homes yet, but they've already gained $50,000 in equity due to soaring sales prices. Okay, let's stop there for just a second. That's a little crazy. We're going to get into the other challenges here, and one of them is like the delay time and the costs of construction. But if you're waiting 8 months for your new construction home to be built, these people here, at least in Eugene, Oregon, now we're in a different market, but this is fairly common that's happening across the United States right now, is because the supply is so low and the demand is so high, you work out with the new builder all the parts of the home that you want built. You sign the contract on the dotted line, and it's for X price. And then by the time it's built, maybe 8 months later, you've gained $50,000 in equity. That's just so crazy. Like that you could buy a house, and before you move into the house, you've gained 50 grand in equity. Now, it's not going to happen every time. Obviously, a lot can happen in 8 months in any real estate market, but this is not super uncommon of a thing that's happening around the country right now. All right, so let's keep going now. Let's look at some of the challenges. So that would be a benefit. If you're thinking about new construction, that would certainly be a benefit, is before you even close on the home, you've got potentially 50 grand of equity in the house. Okay, so new construction challenges in 2021. Housing demand far outpaces available supply nationwide. Underbuilding over the last 20 years and a shrinking inventory of existing homes for sale has led to a housing shortage of 5.5 million units. Based on research from a recent National Association of Realtors report. I saw this recently. I want to pop over here real quick to this report. See if it loads. Housing is critical infrastructure, social and economic benefits of building housing and more. Okay, I don't know if I can find this right away, but completion of, okay, geez. Just look at these charts of buildings. So let me just go down through the article. So what has happened is builders at the end during the recession in '08, they got skittish. They were because what happened was you had all these it went from a seller's market to a buyer's market because you had high supply and low demand. You didn't have any demand from buyers, and so builders didn't build for roughly the last 10, 13 years. And this is really saying for the last 20 years, there's been underbuilding, meaning there hasn't been enough new build construction to keep pace with demand. And all of that has been leading up to this housing shortage of nationwide 5.5 million units. We're short that much inventory for it to be a normal market and not a seller's market. At the same time, industry-wide material scarcity, price increases, and labor shortages have hit builders hard and made it a struggle to finish projects on time and as planned. So I'm talking with builders. I've got a few friends who work for some of the big production builders in town. I've got a friend who's a custom builder in town. And this is a challenge. Material scarcity, being able to just get the materials, price increases in the materials, and then just being able to get workers. So on the production side, these companies like Fisher and Dries and MI Homes and Miranda in town, Ryan Homes, when a lot of people are collecting money off unemployment, it's not only just the materials, it's having a hard time getting the labor to build the homes. And so all of this has made it very difficult to finish projects on time and as planned. As I sat through the sales meeting with my client this week with Fisher, they were trying to set the expectations of like, look, we think it's going to be 7 to 9 months, but they were certainly trying to keep that expectation low for the client because it's taking them a long time to finish projects. I don't say any of this to discourage anyone from buying a home right now. On the contrary, the product hasn't suffered. Again, this is a builder who's writing this in Forbes. But so he's saying the product's great. Buyers are thrilled with their homes when they move in. And I want to give kudos to all the industry professionals who have overcome obstacles and buyers who have rolled with the punches during a wild year and a half. So if you are going to buy new construction, plan on rolling with the punches. But if you're looking to buy a home soon, it's important to understand the current environment so you're prepared for the ups and downs. If you know to expect these 3 challenges, you will save yourself a lot of frustration, time, and money in the long run. Number 1, availability of materials. The pandemic created the perfect storm of supply chain difficulties. Many manufacturers halted or slowed production during lockdowns last year. Now their inventory is depleted, and they still haven't ramped production back up to meet the huge demand from both builders starting new constructions and homeowners tackling do-it-yourself renovation projects. So a lot of people are at home. They've got some equity in their home. Maybe they were able to save up a little money this last year. They're like, hey, now's a good time to do this project at home. And now's a good time to refinance. And so maybe our monthly payment's a little bit lower. We can spend on these. So everyone needs these materials, both builders and do-it-yourselfers. We're seeing empty shelves and long delays for a long list of essential items. Paint rollers, front doors, glass shower doors, electrical boxes, insulation, rebar, appliances. In a perfect world, it would take 100 days to build a house if everyone showed up as scheduled and we had good weather. Now, the lead time for appliance delivery is 12 to 16 weeks instead of 2 to 3 weeks. So just getting a refrigerator is 5 to 8 times longer than it was. That doesn't mean the entire process is going to take that long, but builders are like trying to, plan everything out so that it'll be on time, but there are certainly challenges to getting these materials. And if you can't have materials and you can't go on to the next step of the project, everything slows down. Then you got to reschedule. It's a challenge. Contractors are scrambling to buy supplies on Amazon or other online stores, and if they can't find them, they simply have to wait. I know a builder who has 5 homes ready to sell for $800,000 each, but they're sitting vacant until he can find insulation. That poor builder. Like $4 million worth of houses that are ready to sell, and he can't get insulation. So that's number 1. I mean, just know that if you are going to be buying a house, availability of materials is certainly a problem. Okay, number 2, price of materials. Our lumber package for new homes, and by the way, again, if you're watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. If you haven't done that already, please do. And jump in the chat at any time if you have some questions. Would love to talk with you guys here. This is for you. Okay, so number 2, price of materials. Our lumber package for new homes jumped from $20,000 to $60,000 in the last 18 months, which is in line with the national trend. Lumber prices surged 300% from April 2020 to May 2021, increasing the average price of a new single-family home by almost $36,000, according to the data from National Association of Home Builders. All right, so 2x4 jumped from $20 to $60 or whatever it is, 300%. And you're seeing that pop up in a $36,000 increase on homes on average. Prices are now starting to come back down, but the consequences won't disappear overnight. We don't raise home prices based on the fluctuating costs of materials. So prices have gone up for new construction, and even if the lumber comes back down, it's not like the builder's going to be like, oh yeah, we sold that one for $500, but now lumber's down, so we're going to sell it for $475. That's not, I mean, that's part of the calculation, but that's not all of it. Dennis, hello. Eric, thanks for your channel and explanations. I have a question. If you legally move to the USA, green card for instance, having some cash but without any credit history in the US, is it possible to buy a house somewhere in the Cincinnati area? Dennis, I hope I'm saying your name right. I believe so. Yeah, what I would like to do is connect you to a couple of the great local lenders that I have. They could certainly answer that question for you. We are working with a client right now he is a citizen, but he's been living abroad in Asia for the last 20 years. And for them, it was just a matter of kind of proving the income and your debt to asset ratio. So yeah, I think we could definitely make that work. The easiest way is just shoot me an email and I'll get you connected with my lenders and we can figure that out. Add my email address here. Thanks for that question. Thanks for watching. Okay, so let's keep going. The strong buyer demand has actually been a blessing in this regard. We've seen a 15% increase in house values in the last 18 months in the Eugene and Portland areas. Again, that's a blessing to the builder, not necessarily you, the buyer. Without the housing shortage and the influx of out-of-state buyers moving to Oregon, we would have been forced to stop building until prices stabilized. So the materials costs went so crazy, if there wasn't the demand, this builder saying we would have had to stop completely, which would have caused even more of a problem, right? Because the demand would have kept, but because the demand was there and they knew they could sell the home, they were able to essentially keep building, even while they're waiting for these prices to stabilize. Okay, so you've got availability of materials, you got price of materials, and then the third challenge has been labor challenges. Workforce issues are affecting virtually every type of business in the industry. Businesses that provide construction, painting or landscaping services are having a hard time staffing crews. Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely, Dennis. Title companies, or as some workers are taking advantage of extended unemployment benefits. So that's kind of what we said before. Because of COVID, because of some extended unemployment benefits, it's just hard to find the labor. Title companies, appraisers, lenders, brokers, and other office-based businesses have also had to figure out how to work remotely during the pandemic while keeping up with an increased workload. So it doesn't just impact the building of the house. There's a lot of people involved when building your house, right? Including these different, the title companies, the appraisers, the lenders, the brokers. In our local area, 10% more homes sold in Q1 of 2021 than Q1 of 2020. Everyone is trying to close more homes with a smaller staff, and it can lead to delayed close dates, frustrated buyers, and burnt out employees. Like that's a tough one, right? Like, what's the saying? Like trying to squeeze more out of the I don't know, apple. I don't know what the saying is. Sorry, but it's like you're trying to get more out of less employees, and it leads to burnout, and people can quit, and it's a challenge. The demand is there. I mean, you can kind of see the same thing in restaurants. Like if you've gone out to eat recently, every restaurant I look at has a now hiring sign in the window, right? Like, or in the front of the building. And then you go there and you see these servers who are just overworked, and you've got and everyone's like meaner to them before because they've been isolated for a year, and I just feel so bad for these servers because they're doing their best, but it's like, gosh, like, and so it's a challenge. It's a challenge in a lot of different industries, but certainly hitting the housing industry. Remember that it's a team effort. At least 50 people are involved in any new construction, and everyone's on the same team, from the buyer to the contractor to the title agent. Things that are out of anyone's control will go wrong, and how each person manages these setbacks affects the entire team. I've worked with people who have handled tough situations with absolute grace, and others who've flown off the handle over every little thing. Patience and understanding go a long way in every interaction. So again, this is a builder who's kind of like on behalf of builders saying, like, this is hard right now, please give us some patience. And I get it, and I think that if you're considering new construction, this is the right mindset, because what can you do? Like, if there's no faucet, or I just drove by, I went to Louisville, Kentucky for a golf outing last week, and on the way down to Louisville, there's the Kentucky Speedway, which is near Warsaw, Kentucky. I forget exactly which city, but it's a giant racetrack. And in Louisville, Kentucky, there's a big Ford plant, Ford automobiles, and they've taken all of their trucks to this racetrack parking lot that's kind of in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, and it's just like acres and acres of sitting brand new trucks because they don't have the chips, like the computer chips, to be able to sell the trucks, and so the software, whatever, doesn't work, and they can't sell them. What are you going to do about that? Like, because of these shortages, because of these, and so it's hitting everything, and hopefully it'll get ramped back up, but you never know. This pandemic has made things weird. All right, so get familiar with the process. Ask questions to make sure you understand the timeline, milestones, and limitations of the build. These are some really good questions that I want to be helping with my clients too. Does the builder offer guarantees for getting materials? When does it make sense for you to do a walkthrough? What do you want to negotiate up front in the contract? For example, you might want to lock in your budget to avoid price adjustments, or negotiate time to rent your home back in case of a closing delay. So those are some good ideas on how to be flexible in case things go long, and in case prices go up and you get to be locked into your contract price. I know with Fisher, who we're working with, that price is locked in kind of no matter what, and so you can end up with that equity if prices continue to go up. Commit to what you want. Know that if you choose paint color, tile, design, or door style, it's in your best interest to stick with it. Keep the lack of inventory and long lead times in mind when you make a final decision. Doesn't matter how simple a change may seem right now, the reality is hardly anything is simple. Now is an exciting time to be involved in new construction. The last 18 months have had their fair share of challenges, but they've also been a great example of what we can accomplish when everyone comes together with creativity and resilience. Okay, so kind of a cheery spin, again, from a builder. What he's trying to say here is like, be nice, everyone be nice. We're trying to build houses. I've got another article here that's called "The End of the Housing Boom Will Be When Mortgage Rates Rise in 2022." So a little different angle here. This is not from a builder. This is from an economist. And I want to share this as well. So again, if you're watching, guys, thanks for watching. What we're looking at right now is kind of a macro look at economics, and kind of nationally right now, though it certainly would apply to the Cincinnati area. If you are watching, thank you. And jump in the chat if you've got any questions about real estate in general, buying or selling a house, or if you have questions about Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky area. Please jump in the chat. Would love to connect with you guys here. And again, thanks for watching. Peak in Pie, what's up? Hey, Eric, love the videos and info. I was just curious if you made any videos on any of the more affordable areas around Cincy. I want to ask somebody that would recommend in good conscience. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, totally, Peak in Pie. Are you, when you say that, like, more affordable areas, can you give me like a general range of what that means from you? I mean, I can think of several different areas around town, and it just might depend on some of your criteria, if that is school districts, or do you want more land, or do you want to be closer into the city, or that kind of thing. in general, and how much does crime matter to you? There's different elements. A really good resource that I like. Let me share this with you here. Niche.com, Cincinnati. You can look at it both in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. It'll give you computer's being a little sluggish. It'll give you should give you like median average home prices in different areas, and then you can look at schools, walkability, crime, demographics, all that kind of stuff in general. But yeah, feel free to clarify a little bit more. I mean, some more affordable places in Northern Kentucky might be somewhere like Independence, Kentucky, Burlington potentially. If you want to be closer inside the 275 loop, then somewhere like Ludlow, which I think we'll see some appreciation in the years to come. That's some of the river cities. The west side of Newport, I think, is going to see appreciation. Some a little further back in Covington, on the southern side of Covington, is a good area. In terms of Cincinnati, on the other side of the river, a lot of places on the west side of Cincinnati are affordable. Cheviot, Delhi, Green Hills, areas like that. If you get a little further east, like New Richmond, Amelia, could be some good places. So, I mean, you can, if I knew a little bit more about what you're looking for, I could certainly narrow that down. So, but thanks for jumping in. Feel free to keep chatting here, and I'll try to answer your questions as we go here. Yeah, I mean, you could buy, Cincinnati is certainly an affordable place to live, but you could get a nice three-bedroom home for like $150. Florence, Kentucky is another good place. Erlanger, Kentucky, anywhere from $150 to $175. You could get a really nice three-bedroom home for that. Hope that helps. Okay, so let's keep talking about this this idea of the housing boom and when it might end. Okay, the end of the housing boom, and we'll get into this, but the big idea here is because mortgage rates have been so low, it's encouraged more buyers, and you can afford, when the interest rates are low, you can afford a higher price home for the same amount of monthly payment. So whatever your budget is, you can afford more house when interest rates are low. When that switches and interest rates go up, you can afford less house, and so it causes more buyers to back out of the market. So that's kind of what this article is going to look at. I'll give some thoughts on it. All right, the current housing boom will flatten in 2022 or possibly early 2023 when mortgage interest rates rise. That's a prediction. There is no bubble to burst, though prices may retreat from panic buying highs. Okay. Let's keep going, and then I'll break this down a little bit. The boom produced some frantic buying, bids in excess of asking prices, and plenty of worry among would-be homeowners, but this has not been a bubble. A bubble is not simply rising prices, but demand not justified by fundamental economic factors. The key to the buying boom has been low mortgage rates plus a shift in desired housing type. Okay, he's spot on with this. I've been saying this a lot, but this article I just kind of want to break down. The boom produced some frantic, so we've had a boom. And when you have a boom, that means you have kind of low supply, high demand, which means prices go up. Okay, simple economics. So what happened was, with all this demand, early spring through the summer, you've gotten multiple buyers bidding on a short amount of inventory of prices, and so they've been bidding over the asking price. I had a property in St. Bernard, in Cincinnati, that had 20 offers, and we ended up accepting one that was, I think, $42,000 over our asking price. And the home we listed it at $230,000, and I'm telling you guys, that was the comps. Like, based on the sales in that area, I priced it right, and my client did a great job on the rehab, and we got 20 offers. Ended up taking one $42,000 over ask price with no inspections. Waived inspections. So that was nice for my client. he says, but this has not been a bubble, because a bubble is not simply rising prices, but demand not justified by fundamental economic factors. So that was 2008. You had demand for houses that was happening because people were getting loans that they shouldn't have gotten. So they were being able to afford. If you saw the movie The Big Short, they did a great job of explaining this. But that scene when they're in Florida and people, like, if you could breathe, I think they called it the foggy mirror test. Like, if your breath fogged a mirror, you could get a loan. And so all these people were getting houses that couldn't afford houses. But that's not what's happening right now. Those lender rules have tightened up. And so it's not that people are getting loans that they can't get. It's that there's a shortage of supply, because the big picture is builders didn't keep up with building for the last 20 years. That's what we saw in the last article. And I think he gets into this in this article. Millennials are hitting the market like they haven't before. And so you've got all these new buyers. Those are the big drivers that's driving that the fundamental economic factors of the real estate market this is not a bubble. Okay, so I've got some beef with what he says in this article and how he concludes it, but let's just keep going. The key to the buying boom has been low mortgage rates plus a shift in desired housing type. I think that's right. The low interest rates have certainly been a huge factor as to why there's so many buyers. When rates go up, buyers back out. And a shift in desired housing type. Mortgage rates hit what was then an all-time low of 4% in 2011, and then remained in that neighborhood until the pandemic, when they hit 3%. The decline in mortgage rates in 2020 dropped the monthly payment on a house by 12%, enabling many people to buy houses now rather than later. So, I mean, when budgets are tight, let's say you've got a $1,000 monthly payment, and just because the interest rate dropped, the mortgage rate, it dropped the monthly payment by 10%. So let's just say it's like $100 of free money. So now you can buy an $1,100 house when you only had $1,100 payment when you only had $1,000 before. Does that make sense? I think I'm not trying to explain that right. But basically, you could afford more house, and so that encourages you to buy. So in addition to the low mortgage rate, some people saw a future of remote work and wanted more space, which often means moving out of an apartment into a single family house. This is something, guys, if you go back to my TikTok last year, right at the beginning of the pandemic, I stopped doing TikTok and I've started doing more YouTube because TikTok just wore me out. But I was doing videos on this because I'm like, oh, holy crap. Like, people are going to, like, when you're working from home and you're living in a 500 square foot efficiency, paying $1,500 a month or whatever, or $2,000 a month in New York City or whatever, it's like, and you got people everywhere around you in a worldwide pandemic. It's like, I would like to move away from the 10 million people, and I would like to move into a house, and I would like to take my $1,500 and boot this $500 square foot efficiency and buy a 3 to 4 bedroom house in the Midwest or Northern Kentucky or Cincinnati or wherever. So certainly, yeah, that's been a factor here. So you can work from home, which often means others found urban living less fun. So they headed into the suburbs where houses are more common than apartments. Yeah, when you live in a big city because of big city amenities, and then you're not allowed to do any of those big city amenities because of COVID, then it's like, why am I here again? This isn't super fun. So they moved to the burbs, where houses are more common than apartments. The increased demand for houses drove prices up quite predictably, yet the supply could not adjust as fast as demand. And guys, again, welcome. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching and you've got any questions, jump in the chat. Would love to answer those, and appreciate you guys being on here, subscribing to the channel. We are getting close to 900 subs, I think, and be knocking on the door at 1,000 soon. Super fun. Okay, let's keep going here. Home builders ramped up production in the second half of 2020, but after a few months, they ran into supply constraints. That's what we read in the other article. Ready-to-build lots were all bought up, labor for construction was hard to find, and social distancing made workers less productive. Now, rising material prices and goods on backorder squeeze profit margins. That's how we find ourselves in the current housing boom. Yep. But this boom is not a bubble, because the rise in prices is easily explained by the fundamentals of cheap mortgages and supply limitations. So this is an economist explaining economic things. High demand and low supply equals prices go up. Recent housing starts are below historical averages, though that is justified by lower population growth. But with a shift from multifamily to single-family housing, recent construction levels make sense. There need to be no sudden drop in new construction to maintain a reasonable equilibrium. When will the boom end? The two keys are satisfying the new demand and mortgage rates. Low mortgage rates allowed young families to buy houses earlier than they otherwise would have. It did not change the economics of buying for people who were never going to be homeowners. Instead, low mortgage rates enable people to achieve their dreams earlier than they otherwise would have. In this sense, the strong housing market of 2020 and 2021 has been borrowing from the future. He's saying the lower rates entice people who may have been saving up money and bought houses later as they were a little older or had more time to save up. And so what that means is if you're having a strong market now, but you're kind of robbing that from the future strong market, then yes, it's strong now, but at some point it's going to change and be not so strong. And what you pulled from the future, you're going to feel that later. That's kind of what he's saying here. However, the shift in preferences from urban living to suburban living by people who previously could have bought houses is permanent new demand. I mean, there's a lot of assumptions being made here, but this seems accurate. There's a lot of millennials who are moving out of urban to more suburban living, at least so long as they don't become disillusioned about home ownership. So he's like kind of making predictions and caveats at the same time. Mortgage rates are likely to rise when financial markets anticipate more inflation and action by the Federal Reserve to stem inflation. Although the Fed's traditional tools impact short-term rates with only small effects on mortgage rates, the new actions by the Fed impact mortgages directly. The Fed has been buying mortgages wholesale, depressing mortgage interest rates. The Fed has also been buying many Treasury securities, which are often competitors to mortgages for institutional investors. So the Fed has essentially, in their actions, kept the mortgage rates low. Mortgage rates are likely to rise a full percentage point by mid-2022, though this forecast exceeds the average prediction of my fellow economists. They doubt long-term interest rates will rise by a percentage point even out to December 2022. If they're right and I'm wrong, then the housing market will remain strong longer. Okay, so we're getting into interest rates and maybe some boring stuff, but I'll try to break down what this matters for you. But he's saying that he's predicting that by mid-next year, interest rates will go up. And his fellow economists are saying, no, it's going to be longer than that. No one for sure knows. But if he's right, at a minimum, it's going to be a strong market for at least another year, or at least through mid-next year, right? So let's step back. Let's say you're a seller or a buyer. You can expect, and the other thing he's saying that's important is not just the interest rates, it's that permanent demand. And so in 08 and 09, when the recession hit, all that demand went away, right? You pulled all of those buyers off the table, then you had all these inventory from the foreclosures, and it flipped. And so prices dropped because you had high supply and low demand on the buyer side. But what he's saying is there's strong demand now, there's going to still be strong demand. And interest rates might pull some of that down, but you still got a supply shortage on your hands. And so it's going to be a strong market is what he's saying. He's saying it's not a bubble. It's not a bubble. But in terms of, let's go back to this, in terms of the interest rates. So Business leaders in the housing supply chain should enjoy their strong sales this year, but not anticipate further growth in the coming years. Major capital projects must pencil out with sales back at 2019 levels. Okay, so that's more towards like builders, developers, multifamily, that kind of thing. When you're predicting he's kind of saying like enjoy it. It's been good, but it's going to slow down. Now, this is the last thing he says that I want to talk through. Prospective home buyers should probably chill. It's been a tough buying season. Although prices are unlikely to fall nationwide, there will probably be easier buying opportunities in 2023. Doesn't that make you feel good if you're a buyer? This makes me so angry that the article ends right here. Okay, so if you can wait, great for you, right? Like, this makes me so mad. Let me show you this again. Prospective, like, what an arrogant thing to say. What a kind of jerks. This makes me mad. Prospective home buyers should probably chill. It's been a tough buying season, so just chill out. It's hard out there. Although prices are unlikely to fall nationwide, there will probably be easier buying opportunities in 2023. You kidding me? It is August of 2021. And he's like, oh yeah, why don't you just wait 2 years? What? Like, that's so frustrating. What a bizarre, frustrating thing to say. Tiffany, what's up? All right, I'll come back to this. Tiffany, hey, thanks for jumping in the chat. Any tips for the Fisher Design Center process? Should I anticipate a major jump in the cost of my home? My appointment's next week. It's exciting and terrifying at the same time. Yeah, great question. Congratulations on purchase of your home. Where are you buying, Tiffany? I think the design center. Just have a game plan going in is probably what I would say. And if you've got a little bit more room in the budget, I would probably let them know that up front, saying like, hey, here's where we can go. Like, we can add another 10 or 20 or whatever. And then talk through with them about, they're going to coach you through, probably what your favorite things are to do with that money. And what matters most to you, and try to help you get the most for your budget. They're really good at that. So, Springbrook Estates in Georgia. Georgia. Cool. Well, I don't know how you found my channel, but welcome. I guess probably through some Fisher Homes videos. Yeah, I mean, they're really, they're not going to be trying to get as much out of you as possible. So I think probably the tips I would say to you are, decide your priorities kind of going in, and try to decide your budget going in, and then you can make the choices from there. So hopefully that helps. Okay, going back to this Bill Conerly guy. So I agree that it is challenging for buyers. I agree that it has been a tough buying season, but to just tell somebody to chill, especially when, like, I don't know, let's say you're living in a 2 or 3 bedroom house and you had another kid, or let's say you're relocating, or let's say like you have a reason to move because you need more space, or you're relocating, or you want to get into a different school district, or whatever it is. Like, you don't want to wait. You don't want to chill till 2023, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, okay, I guess I'm biased because I'm the real estate agent and I make money off of you moving, but like, it just makes me mad that these economists would say that. Why don't you just chill? Now, if you can chill, maybe do it, but it feels like it underlies what he was saying in this article. He's like, the demand is real and it's not a bubble, so just chill. That doesn't make any sense. Like, there are some people, I did a video recently on, like, should you sell your house in 2021? And it was to this question, like, yeah, you're going to make a lot of money when you sell your house, but then you got to buy. And, like, it's basically going to be a wash, right? And so my essential conclusion in that video was like, you should sell if you need to sell. Like, you should sell if it makes sense for you and your family. You shouldn't sell if you think, I'm going to make a bunch of money and then I'm going to wait out the market. You're going to be waiting a while. Like, per this article, he's like, the demand is there. It's not going anywhere because you have all these millennials who are buying houses and moving from urban to suburban living. And so when the demand is there and the supply is not, prices aren't going to go down. So don't, like, it doesn't make any sense to sell a home and then buy an apartment or live in an apartment for a year thinking that the 2008 recession is going to happen. That doesn't seem to be aligning with what most people are. Now, most people could be wrong. Maybe everything does blow up, and you never know. But like most things I'm reading, most experts, most economists, most real estate professionals are saying like, prices are just going up. And going back to the other Forbes article we just read, you bought a house, and 8 months later when you close on the house, it's worth $50,000 more in equity just because prices keep going up. So Pecan Pie just says, as someone who's probably going to have to wait a couple more years to move, at least this gives me a bright side for once. Yeah, I mean, yes. If interest rates go up, that should help you. I mean, the other thing that could help ease this a little bit is the forbearance and eviction moratoriums just ended at the end of July. And so while this is sad, like what could help this 5.5 million units of inventory shortage on the market is that some people are going to get foreclosed on. And no one likes anyone getting foreclosed on. But that is a part of the real estate market that has been lacking, because normally when people can't afford to pay their house, those foreclosures come on, and that alleviates some of the pressure of the demand, because either investors are buying those and flipping them and then selling them later, or owner occupants are buying those houses for less, and that brings some of the demand off the table because there's a little bit more inventory. But overall, to me, it's like, I don't know. If you need to buy a house, then chilling is not the best strategy. The strategy would be like, okay, what can I do in this market to help? Like, can I find a house that's been sitting out there for 7 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Other people have passed because there's a leak in the ceiling, or there's something that can I find the diamonds in the rough? Can I get smart about the areas that might be appreciating even more the next few years? Should I buy new construction knowing that the demand is going to be there and this house might appreciate even by the time I close, and I can avoid all the other buyers in that market? So I think that is probably a better approach to sit out and try to time the market, whether you're buying or selling. And this is this is the same if you are, I mean, I guess day traders are better at this, but like, what's it called in the market when you buy consistently at the same time all the time, because the market's going to go up and down, and if you just do it over time, you're going to keep going up, right? That's kind of the same idea in real estate. Like, if you try to time it, you might get lucky, but like, the best time to buy a house is when you need to buy a house, right? Or when you need to sell a house. So that's kind of the idea here. All right, I hope that was helpful. We got a few minutes left here. If you're watching this and you want to jump in the chat, you have any more questions, let me know before I bounce off. I got to do some other work here, but I hope that this was helpful in the sense of thinking through where the market's at, thinking through a little bit of, should you buy a new construction house or not? I'm going to probably continue to keep doing videos towards that end, because I think if prices are up, and we talked about this in last week's live video, like one thing that is happening, there's buyer fatigue setting in, and they're also dragging their feet because they're like, if I'm going to be paying this much, if it's appreciated this much in the last few years, I better darn sure get the house that I want. And I'm kind of like, if you want to get the house that you want, buy new construction. Pay the 5-10% premium, get a brand new house that no one's ever lived in and design it exactly the way you want it. I don't know. It's not for everyone, but that just seems to make sense for me. Pecan Pie. So it might be a better idea to look for something in maybe an area being revitalized. For example, what Cleveland and Akron did with the downtown areas. Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I'm an investor, and so I also buy properties off market and flip houses, and so I'm always looking for these, and I'm always looking for areas that I think are appreciating. And there are certain, you asked about certain areas of town, like in Newport, for example. I've got a friend who does a lot of business in Newport, both with rentals and flipping houses, and in Newport, Kentucky. And let me pull up a map here real quick. Hang on. Kind of show you what I'm talking about. Okay. I think I'm going to need a new Mac here pretty soon. Mine's getting like a little bit sluggish. All right. So here we are in Newport, which is right on the other side. Oh, hang on. Right on the other side of Cincinnati from downtown. This is downtown. This is where I'm at right here. My office in Columbia, Tusculum. And then I live up here in Fort Thomas. And so Newport, what has happened with it over the past few years is this area, and I actually owned I bought a property. When did I buy that? 2011 or 12, I think. I bought it right here off of this exit ramp, right on East 3rd. And we rehabbed it for a short-term rental for Airbnb, and it was crushing, you guys. Like, it was such in a good location of the city. We turned it into 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. It could host like 15 to 20 people because we had bunk beds everywhere. Like, it was a perfect house for groups. However, Newport was a little bit behind the times when it comes to their short-term rental zoning, and they ended up sending us a cease and desist because neighbors didn't like it. Because this side of town is called the East Row Historic District, and it goes to, I believe, 6th Street, maybe 7th, I can't remember, and or maybe even further, maybe 8th or 9th. I'm trying to remember. But these are some gorgeous homes area down here. Saw a lot of appreciation, and then you saw a lot of rehab back on 7th. Over here on Overton Park. I flipped a home here at Park on Maple. On this east side of the city, some really cool rehabs going on. And then you have Monmouth and York that kind of split the city, and this is more of the business district, super cool businesses. Carabella Coffee, which I just did a YouTube short on. I love these guys. I've got some other friends who have businesses down here. There's some Cask. This is just a cool area. Monmouth is kind of like the main strip of Newport, so you've got some really cool restaurants and businesses on that street. And then down by the river, you've got the aquarium. You've got Newport on the Levee, and they just are opening up a new. They're opening up a new concert area called Ovation down here. And so over here on the west side of Newport, these are homes that haven't seen a lot of rehab yet, but like I think this area is gonna appreciate very well in the next 3 to 5 years here. And so this is an area that I would target if you're thinking of buying and you're okay living through a time when things are being rehabbed essentially in the area. But I think it's so central to the city. You can take a scooter across to downtown for the stadiums, which are right here, the Red Stadium and Paul Brown Stadium, Smale Park, and play at the banks. And then you've got all this fun stuff to do in Newport too. So I think this is a great area. Covington is seen in this Mainstrasse area. They've been putting in a ton of development. So kind of the same thing in Covington. It's kind of like closer to the river is where there's been a ton of appreciation lately. And this area a little further back, south of Martin Luther King, it hasn't quite seen it yet, but I think it will in the years to come here. And I've got a little rental property right off this area that I think will see some appreciation. So, yeah, if you're buying, you can get strategic. Not everyone wants to do that. Some people are wanting to get more in the burbs, and that's where I'm like, yeah, well then if you want to do that and be in the burbs, then, I've shown videos on Union, Kentucky out here. Alexandria and Arcadia has some really cool houses out here by Fisher Homes in Campbell County. And then, where a lot of area wide in Cincinnati, where a lot of development has happened in the last 10 years, and I think will continue, is basically connecting Dayton and Cincinnati. So here's Dayton, here's Cincinnati. You've got P&G up here, and you've got where a lot of growth has happened is this Mason and Westchester area, as the city has kind of sprawled northeast with a lot of new construction up in this area and development. So that's another great area that people moving in really like is Mason, Westchester, Loveland, Lebanon even. People really like that area to move in. So, yeah, it just depends on what you're looking for. It's got a little bit of everything. All right. If you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll wrap this up for the week, and we'll catch you back next week. I'll give it just a minute here. Thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I hope this content is helpful for you. I hope that if you have any real estate needs, or if you know anyone who's looking to buy or sell a house in the area, send them our way. Love to help them out. TeamStanyo.com, 513-813-6293. Pecan Pie, you're welcome. Glad to help. So, Sztanyo Klanyo, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great week. And if you have any other questions before this that didn't get answered in the chat, just shoot me an email, which is in the chat up here above, eric.stanyo@kw.com. All right, guys. I hope you have a great week, and we'll catch you later.